Hello there. Good morning and good afternoon to those of you on the other side of the world here in the US. It's morning on the West Coast side. Today I want to talk about how to be effective when you're using expressive arts with your adolescent or even adult clients or even children, because it's more than just luck. It's more than just kind of winging it. It's more than just pulling out art supplies and using art supplies. Or if you're doing play therapy, it's more than just pulling out board games to help them talk about what's going on. Because sometimes, especially when you're dealing with children and adolescents, and I'll be honest, even adults that I've worked with, sometimes we don't have words to really explain or express or even understand what's going on. So is it luck if we kind of figure out how to use expressive arts with our adolescent clients, or do we just kind of wing it as we're going along and um, just pulling out art supplies to help them talk? It really is more than that when you're working with children and adolescents, and especially adolescents, because they need a different way of working through some of their challenges than more of a traditional play therapy model. Adolescents are in a different developmental stage. So to me, it's important to figure out how to meet their unique needs in the treatment process. And for me, that involves integrating expressive arts because it gives them a way to express themselves, to communicate, to explore, to change shame-based or negative beliefs or some of those cognitive distortions that are activating their anxiety. That's what I want to talk about today. So if you are joining me live, go ahead and post your name in the comments. I'd love to see who's here, where you're from, what population you work with. Are you using expressive arts currently? And if so, do you have a specific framework that you're operating out of? So go ahead and post that in the comments. I'm Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a registered play therapist supervisor here in the United States. I've been working with children, adolescents, and adults for about 30 years. And I was first introduced to play therapy when I was a special education teacher in a self-contained classroom for children with emotional disabilities that were interfering with their ability to be successful. Hey, Cinna, how are you? I'm so glad you could join today. That's awesome. Cinna works with children, teens, and young adults. This is perfect. You do using expressive arts. And are you currently using expressive arts with your clients? I think you told me you were, so it's in my Facebook group. Um, so I love using play therapy. I love using expressive arts with my adolescent clients. You can see all my Centre figures in the background. The thing is, though, we need to be intentional about it. It really is about how are we conceptualizing what's going on with our clients. It's about establishing therapeutic rapport. What theoretical model am I using to really understand what's going on? Because then that's also going to give me the tools that I need for deciding what kind of interventions I need to use, the pacing, how am I going to be in the session with them. So that's what I want to talk about today. So let's get started. Also, if you are interested, I have a Facebook group for mental health professionals using play therapy and expressive arts. I go live in my Facebook group, which is called Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. I go live here in LinkedIn, and I go live on YouTube. I go live every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're wanting to catch up on some of the previous replays, it's probably easiest to find them in my Facebook group or on YouTube. On YouTube, I don't have any fancy pre-recorded videos on there yet. That is in the works, down the road, in my plan. Right now, it's all of my live streaming episodes, the replays, so you can find those on there. Hi, Paul. Paul is from Scotland, working with story and metaphor. The story seems to be pretty big there in the UK area, and that sounds really. I love that, using story and metaphor. That fits in so well with expressive arts. I love using story and metaphor to develop thinking skills and build emotional resilience. I love that. Um, and I think that fits in really well with expressive arts like art and poetry. I love using poetry. And Santray. You can see my Santray miniatures in the background. So if you find this information helpful, please like it and share it across your social media platforms and share it with colleagues who might be interested. So today I want to talk about how to make sure that we are being intentional. And to me, that makes us a really effective therapist to help our clients get from A to Z, so to speak. So that is what I'm going to talk about today. First and foremost, if we're thinking about our work with children and adolescents, how do you understand the problem? What lens are you using that's based in theory and research to help you conceptualize what's underneath, what are the roots of the problem, what's causing the problem? Because that's going to make a difference in how you approach the problem. And it's also going to help you with the framework that you use that's going to guide you through the process. So, for example, let's say your client is coming to your office and they have anxiety. What are the roots activating that anxiety? It can be so many different things. To me, it's really important for you to get a really good psychosocial assessment where you're gathering all of the history information, because that's going to help you figure out where are all of the roots that are activating the anxiety. And if you're interested, I have a previous episode on that, conceptualizing the issues and ways to go about figuring that out, in a previous live episode. So I think what I'll do is I'll post that. I'll replay in LinkedIn and also in my Facebook group. So, for instance, if it's anxiety, one of the things that's important to figure out is, has there been a big change in your client's environment that maybe has undermined their sense of safety? So, parental divorce, or a big move, or the death of a loved one, even the death of a pet. Pets are family members. That's how I look at it. Was there a traumatic experience? I also think it's important to kind of see children and adolescents within context, meaning within their environment. So, have there been some changes? Um, what's their environment like? Is there a lot of anxiety in the home, a lot of conflict in the home that's going to create a heightened sense of distress that might be activating their anxiety? The other thing I think we need to look for when we have clients who are presenting to our office, are there some undiagnosed other issues going on that might be feeding the anxiety. For example, is there an undiagnosed sensory processing disorder? Is your client one of those clients who are highly emotionally sensitive and they pick up on everybody's stuff and they don't know it's other people's stuff? They think it's theirs. So they just carry the weight of the world on their shoulders and they're just really anxious and tenderhearted and they get their feelings hurt really easily. Is there undiagnosed ADHD or undiagnosed learning disability or undiagnosed autism spectrum? Whatever it is that is feeding that anxiety, for this example, it's going to be important to figure out what all of those are, because then those are then become where you focus on in the treatment process, your treatment target, so to speak. So that's going to really influence what theoretical model you may use. Most of us use an integrated approach. So most of us are going to have quite a few tools in our toolbox, so to speak. And each one of those tools typically comes with a theoretical way of using them, or you have options of using it, like expressive arts or play therapy, based on what theoretical model that you're operating out of. So that to me is one of the big things that's important. So the other one is, here's how I look at it. My job is to work myself out of a job. I tell my clients that my job is to work myself out of a job, which means my job is to help you successfully figure out what's going on, resolve it, so that you don't need to come anymore, so that you can go on and have the life that you want to live and be free of this problem, or living your best version of you. I read an article, and I think I'll post this again. I'll repost it in LinkedIn and in my Facebook group again. I read this article. The article was about burnout. It was in the Psychotherapy Networker, and it was about burnout, which, I'll be honest, talking about burnout is it's one of my pet peeves. I just ignore them usually because I find them annoying, because you just give me another list of things I have to do. I know I need to do different kinds of things. I don't always have time. And so when I read all of those, don't get me wrong. I know burnout is a thing. I know we have to do our self-care. And those are important things. So it's not that I don't think the topic is important. I get frustrated because it feels like I get one more thing added and it doesn't really fix the real problem, which is I have challenging clients, or I have a lot of clients, or so to me, the burnout title in the Networker article was really intriguing, and it reinforced what I feel is really important, which is if you have a framework. So what they did in this article, let me back up a minute. In the article, what they talked about was looking at burnout from a different lens. They went to some of the master therapists in the field and asked them how they manage burnout. What they found was these master therapists who are top of their field, having these incredible results with their clients, are not thinking about burnout. What they're thinking about is, how do I get my client from A to Z? How do I get my client all the way through the treatment process so that they are resolving what it is that is creating problems for them? So they conceptualize what the problem is, and then they break it down to think about what needs to happen from beginning, middle, and successfully discharging to help that client achieve what they want to achieve, to live the best version of themselves and give them skills, developing that resiliency, because that's the key, helping them to do that. So to me, that's that's another part of what we need to be thinking about. I think about what my lens is, and then I break down the treatment process based on how I'm conceptualizing that problem and what does my client need to do to get all the way through the treatment process. That to me means we're not just kind of winging it. We're not just pulling out toys, or we're not just pulling out art supplies. We actually have a plan, and we're implementing that plan and doing that decision making, that clinical decision making. What interventions do I need to use? Who do I need to have involved in the treatment process? What's going on with this problem? Hey, what's underneath and causing that? And then making decisions about what do I need to do to help my client with them? What skills do I need to teach them? What theory model do I need to use? How do I apply that theory model? Is it working with this client? Those are the things I need to be thinking about, which means that this is an intentional process. For me, and that's a really important thing. So here's kind of a thing that you're getting my pet peeves today. There's kind of another thing that drives me crazy. And I'll say this, there was a time when I struggled with this too. This is like I said, that I learned about play therapy back in the 1980s and then went to grad school. And then for the longest time, I could not figure out where to get this play therapy training because I knew it was powerful. I had seen it, I had witnessed it, I had experienced it with the kids in my classroom as I worked with the psychologist, and we did play therapy together for the kids in my classroom. So I had seen it, but it took me quite a long time, felt like forever in my book, until I was actually able to find the training and a supervisor to help me apply it effectively and understand what the heck I was doing. And so to me, that's the important part, is making sure it's intentional, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, and it kind of drives me crazy. I've heard people in the field, people I've worked with in the field, I've worked in different settings, where they just tell me how they're using expressive arts and what they're saying to their client. And in my head, I'm cringing, because I know it probably just shut their client down a little bit, because they don't really have a framework. They're using some adult talk therapy model, and they're pulling out art supplies in order to help their client talk, which that can happen. There's a whole framework underneath it, though, that makes you way more effective. And that's why I do a lot of play therapy and expressive arts trainings. To me, in my trainings, I love using neuroscience and attachment, because that is a framework that helps me figure out where the problems are coming from. It also helps me figure out what I need to do in order to help my client, and what my client needs to do in order to overcome that. It helps me figure out who needs to be involved in the treatment process. So when I use trainings, or even in my supervision, I have online supervision groups. I like to help the people that I'm working with use a lens that's going to guide them through. So if you've been using expressive arts and play therapy for a while, or you're just beginning, it still is nice to think about the framework that you're using that's helping guide you through that process, and how you're using those expressive arts modalities with your clients. Um, so so to me, using expressive arts is really powerful. We can help your adolescent clients. You can help them to express themselves. You can help them explore what's going on. You can help them identify some of those shame-based beliefs. You can help them explore who they see themselves as, that self-exploration. In adolescence, this is this is part of what they're doing. They're beginning that process to actually launch into adulthood. So they need to really figure out who they are. They need to figure out how their relationships are going to look. Are they healthy? What are healthy boundaries? How do I make friends? How do I keep friends? How do I keep a romantic partner? What am I even interested in? If I'm interested in a romantic relationship, what the heck does that even look like? Where are the boundaries in all of that? How the heck am I going to be separated from my parents but still connected, because I still need my parents, but they drive me crazy and I drive them crazy and we get on each other's nerves? How do I work through those conflicts with my parents, plus be my own independent person but still connected to my parents? Because after all, you can use expressive arts to explore all of those things. And like Paul was saying, with story and metaphor, those are expressive ways of using story. I love using metaphor with art. I find it a really psychologically safe way for my clients to explore different areas that they're struggling with. So there are really powerful ways to use expressive arts, and it's important to have that framework that helps guide you through that process. So I have an expressive arts course, and one of the things that I talk about in that course, first and foremost, is really using a neuroscience and attachment lens to help you understand what the problems are, help you understand that the way that mind-body connection works, because we know from research and science over the neuroscience over the last couple of decades, we know that mind-body connection is important. And think about all the ways you can use expressive arts to help your client really get more in tune with their body, with that mind body connection. And then you can use different expressive arts activities with mindfulness to help them get attuned to their body, to help them be fully present in the moment as a coping skill. Because we know from research that mindfulness is a really helpful skill to learn to manage a whole bunch of different kinds of mental health challenges. And so if you have that framework, then it'll help you figure out how you can use different expressive arts modalities with your individual clients. And in the course, I talk about that, focus a lot on the attachment relationship. So if you're familiar with mentalization, which I am, I am a nerd about that. When I discovered mentalization a few, probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe, um, it was kind of a game changer about where those shame-based beliefs come from, those cognitive distortions, and really taking a broader lens, so to speak, to understand that for my clients. So in the course, I'll talk about core beliefs and the role of attachment in your adolescent clients' development of their sense of self and their beliefs about other people and how that works, as well as how relationship works, because that's going to help. Those are all just like a different focus for treatment, where you can use, if you're using expressive arts in a directive manner, because you can do it in a non-directive manner. If you're using it in a directive manner, those things will help you figure out, I can use this expressive arts activity to explore this shame-based belief and help my clients feel seen and heard, which is really important in the treatment process as well. And so using expressive arts is really powerful. The framework helps to guide you through the process. So we also know that there's a balance between having that theoretical foundation for the interventions that we're using, even when we're using an integrated approach, we also know therapeutic presence is key. It's kind of like the glue that keeps that process moving. That therapeutic relationship helps to keep your client engaged in the process. Your framework that you use is really going to help you understand how you're going to, I call it your way of being in the session. How are you using that therapeutic rapport? How are you establishing a sense of safety and security in the therapy process to keep your clients engaged and helping them to allow themselves to be vulnerable, to do that deeper level exploration, that deeper level change. And so your lens is how you conceptualize the problem, and the framework is what helps guide you through that decision-making process, that way of being, what interventions you're going to use, how you're going to use them. So all of those things are really important in the treatment process. So that is it for today. I just want to do a little recap. So first and foremost, your clients really are, in order to really be successful helping your clients, it's really important to figure out what is going on with that presenting problem. Where are the roots of it? Being successful means you're helping your clients get from the beginning, middle, and all the way through to live the best version of them that they want to be, and help them figure out what that looks like. What that means is that you have a way of breaking down the treatment process based on your understanding, and you're helping to get them through the process. You are working yourself out of a job. I say that all the time. So my very first sessions, when I'm getting all that psychosocial information to understand my client within the context of what's going on internally for them, as well as seeing them in context in their environment. And so I'll get all that information. We'll talk about their treatment goals. What do they want to be better by coming, and what will that look like? And then I also work into the conversation. My job is to work myself out of a job, which means my job is to help you get to the point where you feel like you're doing well and you don't need to come anymore. It sets that expectation for change, and that there's going to be a process that they're going to be working through in order to get to the place where they feel much better. And to be able to do that with children, adolescents, expressive arts can be a really powerful way of doing that. And it really is more than just pulling out art supplies or getting some sand tray miniatures and some kind of a box to put sand in and using them. There's a way of being, there's a way of using them that's ethical and effective. And it's important to understand that and get grounded in that. It's important to make sure that you're getting training that is grounded in some kind of a model, theoretical model, that helps you know how to use it, what to say, what not to say, what it's all about, understanding the modality in and of itself. Art is the same, poetry is the same, music is the same, story is the same, drama therapy, movement therapy, all of those expressive modalities, including play therapy. It's important to make sure there's a way in which you're using them that guides you through the process, that's grounded in some type of framework, because that framework is your guide to help your clients get from A to Z. It's how you help yourself work yourself out of a job. So that is it for today. And if you're interested, I do have an expressive arts course. It's called Expressive Arts in Play Therapy with Adolescents. It's a self-paced course, so you take it when you're available from the comfort of your own home or your own office. In there, you're gonna get information about neuroscience and attachment using that lens. I sprinkle in a little bit of Jungian informed archetypes and complexes because I use that with the archetypes of attachment because I think it's really helpful when you do that and you understand and explore what's going on with your clients around those attachment relationships. You can use expressive arts to explore that, for them to explore it, for them to express it, for them to feel seen and heard. And there's lots of different expressive arts activities using art, using poetry, using music. And here's the thing with expressive arts, you do not have to be an artist. You don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be a professional writer. I'm not an artist. I am not fancy schmancy in those ways. I use the therapeutic powers of play using expressive art. So I tell my clients, I draw stick people. And it's really effective because it's not about teaching them how to be artists. It's not about teaching them how to be musicians. It's about teaching them how to use those expressive modalities to help them express themselves, to explore challenging and difficult and painful experiences, to identify what's going on that's activating all this distress for them. So using expressive arts doesn't mean you as the therapist have to be well trained. It's nice if you are because you just bring a wealth of knowledge to that. And you don't necessarily have to be in order for it to be beneficial to use expressive arts. So that is it for today. I will join you again next week. If you found this information helpful, please like it and share it across your social media, and I will see you next time. Bye.